power adds another check and balance, which makes the judicial branch an equal branch. Because in the Constitution, it doesn't say a lot of what the judicial branch is supposed to do. So with judicial review that John Marshall helps write in Marbury versus Madison, it strengthens the Supreme Court, which is part of the federal government, which also strengthens the federal government. And so once again, you get the significance. You get the strengthens the federal government. Once again, you see it over here, and you see it back over here. So strengthens the federal government. What could you draw for an image for Marbury versus Madison?
Two people arguing.
You could two people arguing, and what are they arguing over?
Because the guy who gets started.
Yes. So you could have two people arguing over that. And why do we really want you to know this case? What does it establish? What does this court case establish? Judicial review. So you could also have two people arguing and the judge reading a law and saying this law is unconstitutional. And that's what we have here. So we have a check and a balance showing these are the two equal branches. The Supreme Court is checking the Capitol, who's housing Congress and who passed the Judiciary Act. And then we have a judge asking for the power to review laws and declare them unconstitutional. And the genie is saying, I don't have that power. You already have that power. It's already your power. And so you can write something about a judge reading a law. We had one student in the previous class, a judge putting a law through the shredder, showing he's reading this law and is saying this is unconstitutional. So he's destroying it. He's declaring it unconstitutional. When you guys are done with this, flip over to the back to show that you guys are ready to move on to the back. So make sure you guys flip over to the back. This PowerPoint is online on Google Classroom, so I might be going a little bit quickly to make sure you have plenty of time to finish your quiz. If you do not finish this, it is on Google Classroom and able to be found there, along with some extra credit with this in case you want to bump up your grade. We'll move on. The next court case is McCulloch versus Maryland in 1819. McCulloch versus Maryland. The people involved are John Marshall, Andrew McCulloch, and the state of Maryland. McCulloch is an employee of the federal bank, the National Bank, the Bank of the United States. All three of those mean the same thing. And the state of Maryland wants to tax the National Bank. And McCulloch is saying, a state government can't tax the national government. I'm not paying this tax. And so Maryland says, okay, either this bank is unconstitutional, as a lot of Democratic Republicans believe, the National Bank is unconstitutional, or if it is constitutional, I should be able to tax it. It's in Maryland, the Bank of the United States, the Baltimore branch is in Maryland, I should be able to tax it. And so Maryland tries to tax the National Bank. McCulloch says, I will not pay that tax. And so Marshall's reading it, and he has to figure out there's two problems here. One, is the bank constitutional? And so Marshall's reading the Constitution, and it doesn't say anything about a national bank, so it's not an express power, but it's an implied power in the necessary and proper clause. It states Congress shall tax and pay debts, and so and it states Congress shall do whatever is necessary and proper to do its job, whatever is needed and whatever seems right to do its job. And so he sees this as an implied power to have a national bank. And then he also states, in the second part, he states that Maryland cannot tax it because if you don't pay your taxes, where do you go? Jail. And will the repo man come and take your stuff? Yeah, and so he doesn't want Maryland to have the repo men coming to the national government. And so he says the power to tax is the power to destroy, and so the state government cannot tax the national government. And so this is the significance. It states this court case, McCulloch versus Maryland, defines state and national powers, giving more powers to the national government because the states can't tax them, so the national government is untaxable by the states, which strengthens the national government. It gives more power to the national government. The national government is becoming stronger under John Marshall. With this, you could draw who are the two people in this court case? Who are the two main things arguing?
Just
Maryland and
National Bank.
the National Bank. And who wins the case, the National Bank or Maryland? The National Bank. And so we have the National Bank with Congress over the state of Maryland. You could draw something else. You could draw the National Bank having a fence around it saying can't be taxed. You could draw a few other things, but we have the National Bank over the state of Maryland. I'm going to move on to the next. So I'm just going to start talking about the next case, but this first case is there. So if you're ready to move on, it's great. And if it's not, I'll give you another second or two. I don't want to rush you. But we want to make sure you have plenty of time for the quiz.
And this is on Google Classroom, so
Yes.
you have the opportunity to get it from there.
So, you don't have to write the summary and significance word for word. You can change it. You could shorten it. You could shorten it. You can change it. Put it into your own words. Instead of writing out the whole National Bank, you could just write out NB for National Bank. You don't have to always write out Maryland. You can use MD for Maryland. You can shorten it. So, the next case, years, and he doesn't hear it for a few more years, is this court case, Gibbons versus Ogden. And this court case is coming about with the market revolution. The market revolution sees a lot of new things being invented and created and made better. And so we get steamboats and railroads and cotton gins during this market revolution. And the person who invented the steamboats in this case, Robert Fulton. And so Robert Fulton and his business partner, Aaron Ogden, have a steamboat monopoly in the state of New York. They have a steamboat monopoly. They are the only people that can use steamboats in the state of New York. But there's this other guy, Thomas Gibbons, who wants to use a steamboat in New York, and New York says no, you can't use it. Only Fulton and Ogden can use it. But Gibbons goes to the national government, and the national government says sure, you can use your steamboat in the state of New York. So now we get conflict. We get some problems because we get the state government, New York, saying no, you can't. There can only be Ogdens and Fulton. And the national government says, of course, Gibbons, of course you can use your steamboat. And so we get a problem. And so this is what John Marshall has to decide. Who has more say? Does the state government have say? Or does the national government have say? Who is right when two laws are conflicting? And he reads he's reading the Constitution, and he sees there's a state, and he sees an implied power called the Supremacy Clause, which states if a state law and a national law are in conflict, the nation always wins. The national government always wins. And you see this a lot today. That's why when you see state laws and national laws about gay marriage, and you have that national law saying, of course gay marriage can happen, then that becomes the whole law, and a state can't limit gay marriage. The supremacy clause. And so the supremacy clause that Marshall finds is Gibbons wins, and he can use his. And so for you get significance, it reinforces the supremacy of the national government over the states. And if the national government has supremacy over the states, that means it's stronger. So this once again strengthens the federal government. So we get a stronger federal government. This strengthens the federal government because of the supremacy clause and the national law having more power than the state law.
And what could you draw for that? What are the main things involved? Go to Gibbons and Ogden and Fulton Hollow.
Steamboats.
Steamboats. So some steamboats trying to fight for the right to flow down the New York riverways.
Yes. And so we have two steamboats talking about, I have the right of way, no, I have the right of way. And so you can have this. You can have the steamboats. You could have two steamboats arguing. You could have the national law being on top of the state law. You can have that also. But this case is all about steamboats, so we put some steamboats.
So once you're done with that, put this in your notebook and get out a piece of paper and your Unit 3 homework. All right. As per usual, leave this up for a minute for those who are finishing up. It's also on Google Classroom. Those of you getting your notebook paper out, you should of course always put your name block on that. That's your full name, a first and a last. It can be your nickname. This is B7. This is Unit 3 homework quiz. What letter are we doing, Mr. Masse?
A.
A. Unit 3 homework quiz A. Make sure you put that A on there so I use the right key to check you. Alright. You may have your homework out, but on your answer sheet, it's only partially done. Use what you can use, and then get it in to me by the end of the day. Turn it in after pride time, if you get it done in pride time or study hall, or send me an electronic homework copy. It is, once again, 10 questions. The first 5 kind of cover the Constitutional Convention and the documents. The second 5 cover those first 5 presidents and stuff that they were doing or was happening during their presidencies, things of that nature. You do not have to write the question. You do not have to answer in complete sentences. You do want to number it 1 through 10 and to give some spaces to leave room for a complete answer and for any extra credits. When you're finished, you're going to put it into the tray and you're going to pick up your Monroe Doctrine directions. You're going to read them carefully so that if you have any questions before you leave, you can ask them. And then when you're done with the quiz, if time allows, you can work on any of the assignments that you may have.
Okay, so say we didn't write it on a paper, but we highlighted like any answers.
Nope. Alright. Ready? Ready for our quiz? Yep.
Yes.
Alright, quiz A. Number 1, I'll state and then I'll restate. What were the weaknesses of the Articles of Confederation? What were the weaknesses of the Article of Confederation? The word weakness implies more than one, so at least 2. So 2 or more weaknesses in the Articles of Confederation. What was not good about it? Why did we replace it? Any questions about number 1?
You do not have to write incomplete sentences.
The date is the 3rd. All right. 2 or more weaknesses of the Articles of Confederation. 2 more reasons we do not still have it. We got rid of it. It was replaced. Because I didn't like it. It was bad. 2 more reasons or weaknesses of the Articles of Confederation. Any other questions for number 1? Feel free to move if you need to get a little closer. This one's set up a little smaller than previous ones. Number 2, why was the Great Compromise important? Why was the Great Compromise important? You can tell me what it did, you can tell me what problem it resolved, or how it resolved that problem. Remember, a compromise resolves a problem, so how did it do that? What is the problem? How did it resolve it? Something along those lines. Why was the Great Compromise important?
I spoke about it for a second or two today, so you can try to remember. Sometimes not called the Great Compromise, it's sometimes called by another name, a small state in New England.
Don't forget to look for keywords in your homework, but also don't forget you've learned this. If you've been in class and been doing the work, maybe it's not on your homework, but you might know it anyway. Don't assume that you have to find it in your homework to write down an answer. Any questions on 1 or 2? 3. What were 3 ways the Constitution solved the issues facing the delegates at the Constitutional Convention? What were 3 ways the Constitution solved the issues facing the delegates in the Constitutional Convention? So you got to think back to what were the issues they were facing, and then how were they resolved? So how did they fix the problems that led to the Constitutional Convention? Who were the problems between? What were the problems? And how did the Constitution fix them? Again, in part, you might look to the concept of compromises, but only in part. What are 3 ways the Constitution solved issues facing the delegates at the Constitutional Convention? Now, if you've been paying attention to these quizzes over the last 3 units, you will note that in my quiz questions, I use keywords from the questions and answers that you should have in your homework, sometimes keywords from the titles of the sections, which is why I encourage you to always write down the title of the sections, to either write the question or answer in complete sentences. When you write in complete sentences, you should try to avoid pronouns. You may have down the answer, he was president during the War of 1812. But if you didn't write down Mr. Madison was president, that's not going to help you on this quiz, right? So you have the answer correct, but it's not a help to you. You understand what I'm saying? So instead of saying he, write, Madison was president during the War of 1812. Therefore, it can help you more on a quiz or when you're reviewing for a quiz or a test or an SOL. All right, any questions on 1 through 3? 4. What did the Federalists believe? What did the Federalists believe? It could be what they believed about our government, about our economy. It could be what they believed about how we should live or make our money, what they want or what they don't want. But what did the Federalists believe? What do they like or not like? What do they support or not support? What do the Federalists believe? How's my speed? Too fast, too slow, just right? I got 1 just right, so should I just go with that? Okay, I got 2 just rights, all right. Any questions on 1 through 4?
Okay.
Number 5 is going to be the last one that's kind of from the first few sections, the first half of your homework, that focused on the convention and the documents related to the convention. And it asks, number 5, what documents influence the Constitution and Bill of Rights? What documents influence the Constitution and Bill of Rights? So it's asking for a minimum of 2 documents, and there are 2 that I want that get you full credit. You may be able to put other documents in there that get you partial credit, but there are 2 documents that influence the Constitution and Bill of Rights. Okay? And for extra credit, who wrote those documents? And if you only remember one guy, write his name so you get that point. Okay? But who wrote the 2 documents? Who wrote the 2 documents that influence the Constitution for extra credit? So what documents had an impact on what the Constitution said or on what the Bill of Rights said, and who wrote them. Any questions on 1 through 5? Any questions on the extra credit? After I'm done with the next 5, you can turn in your, as soon as you're done with the quiz, you can turn it into the tray. Again, you'll pick up your Monroe doctrine sheet. If you haven't picked up timelines, you'll pick those up. If you need time to finish your quiz, you'll have to land in the block to do so. Otherwise, you should be silently working on something that's due for this class. Okay? Number 6. Why is the election of 1800 referred to as the Revolution of 1800? Why is the election of 1800 referred to as the Revolution of 1800? Think about what the word revolution means and what was going on kind of for the first time ever, even though it's something that happens fairly often after that. Why was the election of 1800 referred to as the Revolution of 1800? Why was it called a revolution? Why was that election called a revolution? If you didn't finish your conclusion sheet, you can use a computer or your phone as long as your quiz is in to finish your conclusion sheet. Make sure it doesn't see my board here. No. Get my quiz questions. Although this is the last 8. All right, number 7. What are 3 characteristics of the Democratic Republican Party? What are 3 characteristics of the Democratic Republican Party? So that could be what kind of people joined the party, what do they believe in, what do they like, what do they not like, what do they think about governments, what type of government do they like best or like least, what documents do they support, how do they make their money, what do they think about the economy and how people should make money, what part of the country are they from or states are they from. All those are examples of characteristics. So I just named about 8 or 10 things you could write down, and you need to pick 3, okay? 3 characteristics of the Democrat or Republicans. Who are they? What do they believe? What do they do? What do they think about government, the economy, stuff like that, okay?
You could also think of the Democratic Republicans that they support or not support a major piece of legislation. That could be helpful as well.
Or political events America was involved in. Which drum are we looking at, honey? Number 7, 3 characteristics of Democratic. So, somewhere along the line you were perhaps asked to describe a political party. Maybe look and see if you have any details in there. So I like that question a lot because sometimes when I hit describe, people then put just like a phrase or a word or maybe a sentence. Describe implies you got to give me some details, dudes. So it should be a bit of information there. All right, number 8, list 2 results of the War of 1812. So list 2 things that happened after the War of 1812 because of the War of 1812. List at least 2 things that happened after the War of 1812 because of the War of 1812. And for extra credit, list 4. So number 8, list 2 results of the War of 1812. Okay? For extra credit, list 4. Any questions on 1 through 8 or the extra credit? 9 and 10 were covered pretty heavily today. Actually, 8, 9, and 10 were covered pretty heavily today, if you're paying attention. So if you don't have your homework, this is where you can rally 30 points for you in 8, 9, and 10. Okay? We talked about this stuff today. So, number 9, what are the 4 points, or the 4 parts, or the 4 tenets of the Monroe Doctrine? What does Monroe believe? Why does he believe that? What's going to happen if people don't follow? And what are we going to do in return? What are the 4 parts of the Monroe Doctrine? In your own words, you can be brief. I just need to know you get the point, you understand it. Make sense? And it wasn't your homework, so it could just be your copy and stuff if you got that far. All right, any questions on number 9? Any questions on 1 through 9? Last but not least, number 10. Again, we asked you this, you told us this verbally, hopefully you can write it down from today's gavel activity. What did John Marshall's decision do for the federal government? What did John Marshall's decisions do for the federal government? Any questions on 1 through 10? So silently you can turn in your quizzes, silently you can work on other things, silently you can finish your quiz. Everybody needs to be finished with their quiz in the next 10 minutes. We're going to turn the lights on so that you can see your homework a little better, for those of you working on your homework. Yes. When you turn your quiz in, pick up the Monroe Doctrine cartoon, and please, please, please read the directions so that if you have questions, I can answer them for you. But basically, you're taking your daily assignment and making it a prettier, more colorful, neater version of what you did for your daily assignment.
You should also grab a timeline if you haven't grabbed a timeline. It's not being graded before the test. It'll probably be graded next week or the week after. But the timeline goes over all the major events of Unit 3. So it's probably a pretty good review before your test on Monday.
All right, I am attempting to give you a notebook quiz on October 17th or 18th. So your timeline and the Unit 4 timeline would need to be done by then, because usually timelines are graded in notebook quizzes. I will, now that I've established the day I'd like to do it, I will put that on Google Classroom. But I just decided that this morning once I looked over my unit schedule for next couple of weeks.
Make sure you understand what you are doing here, because some students have found some problems. And if you read the directions and ask the questions now, you can finish this before your test on Monday. And when you have your extra 5 minutes for your notebook during your test, you can look at this, and when you bring it down again, you probably can answer the 2 or 3 questions on the Monroe Doctrine on the test. So we want you to try to finish it before Monday, but it is due Wednesday.
And that's on the board in the back and Google Classroom. This was found on the floor kind of over in that section between these 2 rows, so if this belongs to you and you want it back, come see me. We call them palms, I don't know what you guys call them.
It's a little piece of wood with some
Yes.
etchings on it.
All right, so if it's yours and you want it, come see me. Yep, you gotta take the white one. If you haven't taken the yellow, grab that too. Okay? Read the directions. Remember, there's extra credit available on there as well.
This is one of the few extra credits that's not due by Friday.
Turn in your homework too, your Unit 3 homework, even if you turned it in already. It's not in the grade book yet. Turn it in again.